Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Wednesday, the 2nd of May, comes to you from London. And we start, as always, by looking at the dollar. Rose again yesterday, just flat and very slightly falling this morning, but looking pretty strong still. So, the dollar recovery still in train. Euro's up this morning, but again, very slightly and bearish below the cloud on the short and medium term trends. If we look at the dollar against the yen, we're seeing the rise here, and sterling falling quite heavily back to sort of 136. We were as high as 144, nudging 145 only a couple of weeks ago, and sterling is deteriorating, and we've still got downside target to 133, which is another 2% lower. Taking a look at sterling against the euro, we see we're weaker here as well, and against the Swissy, and against the Aussie dollar at 181. So that's the lowest that's been for a while, just falling really to levels seen back at the beginning of March. Bitcoin up almost 1% this morning, but bearish below the cloud on the short-term chart. We do have an upside target of some 3% higher, but of course that bearish trend's hanging over us. Looking at the US stock market, we're seeing a bit more recovery yesterday, up 0.25%. The Nasdaq was up quite sharply. Apple reported quite strong results last night, and we'll have a look at that when we get to looking at the stocks. The Nasdaq is now just back above the cloud on the short-term chart, so we are seeing an improvement. The Dow is yet to turn bullish, so the large caps really still dragging the market down. And the Russell 2000, which of course is the broader 2000 index, is looking stronger, but still not quite bullish above the cloud in the short term. The future is just flat this morning, really no real change there, and the Nasdaq E-mini also just up 1/3%. So we might see tech higher. We know that Apple will probably open higher, which will pull the market up. Looking at FTSE, that's looking pretty strong again this morning, just rising further. We're at now 7,500. Given that we were below 7,000 just a few weeks ago, the end of March, that's quite a strong recovery. Looking at the yen, the FTSE 250 looking pretty strong there as well. Looking at the Xetra DAX, we're seeing the DAX still not quite making it above the medium-term chart, and Paris continues to power ahead, just almost making new all-time highs now. Looking at the Japanese market, we see here bullish in the short-term trend was down very slightly. Hang Seng also was down very slightly, just under 0.5%. And the Chinese market, my main concern of late, was very flat, little change, but we are just deteriorating there on that long-term trend. The Sensex rising higher and back into medium-term bullish, and the Australian market also pushing higher back to medium-term bullish. Brent crude sitting at 73.50. Strong results out yesterday from BP on this higher oil price. WTI also just below the cloud there short term, as is Brent crude. So we're seeing crude oil weaker in the short term, but medium and long term trends look good. US nat gas sitting at 279. Very little change on nat gas over recent sessions. And looking at gold, up slightly at 311. Might be just bouncing on the cloud support there with the lagging line. And if we look at silver, much the same picture. We're bearish in the short term there as well. US 10-year yields are pushing back to that 3% level, sitting at 2.99% this morning, and coming back to bullish trend. Looks like we're going to get used to US yields above 10%. Apple, as I mentioned, had quite strong results after hours last night. And after hours trading, they were up some 3.6%. So it looks like we will open higher. We were up 2% yesterday in anticipation of the results. Tesla reporting today, so that will be interesting to see how that hits the market. Amazon were up quite strongly as well. So we're seeing here up 1% and still bullish above all three time frames. So Amazon really showing its strength there. Google not quite making it back although it was 2% up yesterday, still not bullish on that medium and long-term chart. Facebook still has work to do as well on the medium-term chart, and Microsoft was looking quite strong yesterday as well, up 1.5%, looking better than some of the tech majors. The key thing will be to watch Apple. Apple has been worrying of late. It'll be interesting to see how the market takes these results today. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.